Dulai. The performer is Hark Dulai. He performs at all the comedy clubs around. He's a very funny comic. Please give a warm welcome to Hark.
I was 10 years old. My dad told me he was going to die someday. I got really sad, thinking I'm going to miss him. Then he told me, we all got to die someday. Even me. In my selfish way, I got more sad, because I thought that really sucks. I went late in bed for about 2 or 3 hours, depressed. But then I thought about it. I'm going to beat this death thing. I'm only 10 years old. By the time I get old, science will have advanced. I'm going to live forever. I used to go to people's funerals and thinking I feel bad for them because they're dead, but that's never going to happen to me. 25 years later, actually, when I was 25 years old, 15 years later, I was a bit of a social drinker. Actually, I thought I was a social drinker, but we'll get into that later. I was a bit of a loner, kept to myself, no dating, no girlfriend. Actually, all I did was work out all the time. I was trying to look good, so girls would be interested in me. But because of my awkward way, I could never approach them. So I would drink and try to talk to them, but I couldn't. Until I met one girl. And actually, I talked to her when I was sober, which was really shocking. Because she was beautiful, funny, smart, a ballet dancer. She was a model. And she was interested in me. We actually met at a computer fair. She was kind of a geek also. So that's how we met. But when we met, she wouldn't give me her phone number, only her email address. And back then, email wasn't common like it is now. Her email address was sblj77a@prodigy.com. So I thought that could be a fake, because her name wasn't like Ann@yahoo.com. Her name was Ann. But we got talking. I got her email address. I was a little shy. Once I got home, it took me 2 weeks to email her. I thought it was a fake. Finally I did it. What the hell? I'll email her. She's like, what took you so long? She responded, it was good for me being on email because I'm awkward. I could take 20 minutes to write a 3-minute email. She never knew. But it was still tough. She wouldn't give me her phone number. For 2 months, all we did was communicate by email. For 2 months. If we ever met, it had to be a public place. She wouldn't give me her phone number. She'd call me once in a while, but I couldn't have her phone number. Finally, she gave me her pager number. I could page her, she'll call me back. But still no phone number. Still, I didn't know where she lived. I started thinking maybe she's a prostitute. But then she never asked me for money. But then I started thinking maybe I'm like Richard Gere. And she fell for me. She was going to Cal Berkeley at the time. You must be from Cal. Tony Gonzalez was playing at Cal at the time. She'd always tell me about seeing Tony Gonzalez in her classes, saying, yeah, I saw Tony Gonzalez today. I saw Tony Gonzalez this. I started thinking she was Tony Gonzalez's girlfriend. Now it's the guy on the sideline. I started hating Tony Gonzalez ever since then. I don't allow Tony Gonzalez on my fantasy football team. Someone could try and trade me Alex Smith and say I could have Tony Gonzalez, and I'd say no. Finally, I found out what was going on. She finally told me. Her dad was a multimillionaire. Not just any multimillionaire. He was in organized crime. Type of guy that doesn't let his daughter date whoever she wants. He's got to know. Actually, he already had a husband picked out for her. That's how bad it was. And she told me, I'm going to tell him about you. And I said, are you sure? She goes, yeah, he needs to know. I said, do you remember my fear of dying? Are you sure? She goes, yes, I'm going to tell him. She told him he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy with my race. He wasn't happy with my financial status. Which when I told her, I go, I don't have any money, how could I have financial status? She goes, he's not happy with your lack of financial status. There was no pleasing him, but she told him that she's going to stay with me. And he wasn't happy. But I thought, he's not going to hurt me, his daughter loves me. Right? Actually, he never even tried to hurt me. He offered me lots of money instead. He offered me money to just break up with his daughter. Because that's how he did things. Everything we could buy with money. I didn't take the money. She knew he'd do that too. And she told me she loved me. I didn't take the money. And we stayed together. I finally realized this is a girl I'm not married. I was ready to buy her an engagement ring, but I had no money at the time. So I could sell my Michael Jordan rookie cards to buy an engagement ring. And my Barry Bonds cards. And I love Barry Bonds. So that means I loved her. But it was hard pleasing her family. They were never going to be pleased. It was impossible, actually. Her mom actually liked me. Her mom actually wanted me to be happy. But he didn't care. My brother's wedding was coming up. Actually, I was getting really excited because I was getting ready to marry someone. He's getting married. I thought this was going to be me up there. In just a few, 6 to 7 months, that's how I was looking at it. And we didn't get to talk much that week. Except she, for her ballet dancing, had to go get a physical. And during her physical, they found out that she has cancer. And she told me, she goes, I'm sick, I have cancer. And I said, it's okay, everything's going to be fine. Doctors can fix things now. It's 1997, it's not 1982 anymore. Science has advanced. My birthday was coming up, and she decided she wanted to buy me a puppy for my birthday. A $4,000 bulldog. She told me the bulldog was supposed to keep the puppy if something happens to her. I told her, no, that's our dog. That's our dog. When we get married, that's going to be our dog. You name our dog. My dog's name was Bo. Actually, his name was Bowfire. But me and Bo never told anyone that. That's what she named him. She even named him Bo with a B-E-A-U. I know he wasn't happy about that. But he went along with it. She started getting more sick. This is the first time in my life I actually prayed. I was praying for her to get better. I'd even sit there and pray, let her live, let me die instead. I didn't really mean that. I thought God would say, wow, he's being somewhat selfish. I'll let them both live. Now maybe God's listening. So that's what I'm thinking. I was drinking a lot at the time. That's the only way I could deal with things. I was coping with it. She wouldn't see me anymore. She was starting to get more sick, started losing her hair. She wouldn't understand that I shaved my head, that it's fine, I'm bald, you're bald, but she wouldn't see me. And it got harder. Finally, one day she called me. Her voice was really faint. She said, Hark, I think we need to say goodbye. I said, no, we're not going to say goodbye. She said, just in case, I want to hear you say goodbye. We fought for 2 hours on the phone. She's like, just tell me goodbye. I said, everything's going to be fine. You're going to be okay. I'm not saying goodbye. She's okay. I'm hanging up. Tell me you love me. I said, you know what? When you call me tomorrow, I'll tell you I love you. And I hung up the phone. That call never came. She passed away the next day. I beat myself up over that. Because I never told her I loved her. Even though I told her 1,000 times before I loved her, that's how she didn't know. All she wanted to do was hear it one more time. Her friend at the time told me, when she died, she was wearing your engagement ring. But that didn't matter to me. I didn't tell her. It was tough. No matter what I did to him, I couldn't forgive myself. The drinking got worse. Me and my dog would actually drink together. Bo liked Bud Light just as much as I did. He would get drunk, I would get drunk. He'd pee on the floor. Or I'd pee on the floor and I blamed him. I still don't know. But he was a good dog. He was there to keep an eye on me, just like she wanted him to. That's what he did. And I missed her funeral because I was drunk. Her funeral was overseas. Her family was overseas. I never made it. I got drunk with Bo. I started drinking a lot in public. Wherever I went, I'd get drunk. I'd be crying in a bar. One time a guy was making fun of me for crying in the bar. He didn't know why I was crying. I pulled out my knife and said, do you find this funny now? But the problem is I had a butterfly knife. If anyone knows anything about butterfly knife, if you open it with the wrong handle, it's going to hit the back of your hand and cut your own hand. So I'm standing there with a knife in my hand, with blood all over my hand, asking if this looks funny. Makes you wonder, it probably did look funny. But at the time, I thought I was smart. Before she died, she was always telling me, Hark, if you ever do anything to yourself, we can't be together. God doesn't allow that. So I used to drive her around drunk all the time, on purpose. Thinking if I died while I was drinking and driving, that would be an accident. Then I could be with it. Or I would even think, if I swerved my car into that tree, it would look like an accident, and maybe God isn't watching at this moment. He can't be watching all the time. He wasn't listening to my prayers. He can't be watching all the time. That's what I felt. I went out with my best friend one night, complaining, and I wish I had never met Ann. He got mad at me. He goes, how do you think she feels? She loved you as much as you loved her. How do you think she feels right now? She misses you. Then he said, how do you think Tony Gonzalez feels? I got upset. I said, leave the jokes to me. A couple of weeks later, her dad called me. It's about 3 years after she passed away. He was sick. He was dying. He wanted to make amends. I had a few drinks and then decided to call him back. I told him it's too late for amends. You're dying. You're going to hell. Fuck you. That was my exact words. I wish I had done differently, but that's what I did. I learned a lot more about him later. That was the second daughter of his to die. Another daughter that died of leukemia. Now when I think back, I do feel sorry for the guy. He was looking out for his daughter. Probably had his best interest at heart, but that's not what I felt at the time. After he passed away, I decided it's time for me to now say goodbye. I'm going to be with Ann. I wrote letters to some of my family, planned a party, I was going to get drunk, and then I was going to die. That was my plan. Except something went wrong. If you get drunk and do something stupid in public, there's a good chance you might end up in a mental hospital. Because that's where I ended up. They wouldn't let me go home. They said, you got to stay here. You've got suicidal thoughts. I said, well, I want to go home. She said, no, can we just please stay here voluntarily? I said, no, I want to go home. They said, well, then you're staying here involuntarily. I asked her, what's the difference if I got to stay here voluntarily, involuntarily? She said, it's less paperwork for me. I said, well, you're going to have to do your paperwork. Because I'm not staying here. But I had to stay. They made me. I met my shrink for the first time, an Indian lady. She asked me about everything that happened in my life. I told her my entire story. Everything. She goes, well, tell me more about yourself. Like, I told her, like, there'd be times I wanted to shoot myself. I shoot up the whole house, and not myself. And finally she goes, Hark, do you know what your problem is? I said, bad aim. She said, no, I think you have a drinking problem, and you have a grieving problem. And she goes, I do think you're also afraid of dying, because you know how to deal with things. I asked her, I'm afraid of dying? She goes, yeah, you're afraid? The things that are going to happen after you're gone that you're not going to know about. I said, like the Giants winning the World Series? She said, no. Like what's going to happen to your family and loved ones? I said, well, will the Giants ever win a World Series? She said, maybe, but you might have to wait till 2010. But then she asked me, she goes, do you deal with everything by joking? Is that how you deal with things? I said, well, they don't let me drink here. What else am I supposed to do? I went to my first AA meeting while I was in the mental facility. I heard a bottle drop, it sounded like scotch. I didn't want to go to this meeting. Actually, the Lakers and the Pistons were playing the finals at the time. I wanted to go watch the game. The TV room, there's a guy that was always in the TV room and he was racist. He hated black people. He told me one time he was going to root for the Lakers. I'd be really against the Lakers just because he hates black people. He's rooting for the Pistons. I don't know the 2002 Pistons roster. I think there's a few black guys on it. But I figured if he doesn't like black people, he certainly doesn't like me. So I decided to go to a meeting. And I sat in my first meeting. I didn't want to be there. The girl sat next to me. She started telling her story. Like, I'll do anything in my life for drugs and alcohol. Anything. sex, anything. And the way I think I'm always joking in my head, and I was thinking, damn it, these bastards took my wallet. From there, they made me go to grief counseling. I went to my first grief counseling meeting, and all these guys were crying about their wives dying. And I was thinking, pussies. It's just their wives. It's not like they lost someone like Anne. She was wonderful. Your wife was just another woman. Find someone else. That's how I dealt with it. Then she had me buy some books. This was before I was just getting out of the facility. She's like, I want you to read these books about dealing with dying, your fear of death. And I'm like, okay, I'll order these books. I got out of the facility. I had to meet with her once a week. I got out, went to Amazon, didn't order the books, went back to see her the next week. She goes, did you order those books I told you to order? I said, yeah, but I got scared. She's like, why? I said, I was going to order them with free shipping, but they said that might take a long time. But I thought I could be dead by then. She got my humor finally. She was an Indian shrink. Indians in our culture, no one has a drinking problem. No one ever admits it. It's like, oh, he drinks too much, he'll be fine. He'll quit. That's how they think. And she started getting to me. Finally, she got through. I started going to meetings. Been going to meetings ever since. I'm sober since then. I deal with things better. I even went back to see her one time. I told her, I owe you a lot. You got me over my fear of dying. Now I'm just suicidal. Thanks a lot. I learned a lot from this experience in my life. I learned that Anne loved me, and she knows I loved her. I used to try to forget about Anne. Now I embrace it. I used to try to forget about the past. Now I embrace it all. I realize it's never too late to tell someone you love them. Each time you leave your house, tell the person you love that you love them. It might be your last chance. They might already know. You might not even need to say it, but it never hurts. And now that's my time. Before I go, I want to let my family and my friends that are here, that I love all of you. Thanks a lot.